Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So today we're going to talk about the events and logs, which are very important concept, right? As a security specialist, if you have been working, we know that we're going to know everything about happening on the in assets. That can be anything. It can be the endpoints, it can be the networks, or it can be the applications, or it can be any security device. So whatever the activity happens on those devices are the most important part. So how are we going to detect that? How are we going to investigate on that? So the main process of detecting any type of threat, or it can be any kind of the information. How we are going to get this? This we are getting with the help of logs. Log data are very important. It gives us the complete security posture, what exactly happening on these devices. So there are the multiple sources are there through which we are going to get these logs. Now, as we know that we have been working as a security specialist. So as a SOC analyst, if you are working, we are working on the tool called as a SIM. It can be any SIM tool, right? Either it can be the Splunk, it can be the IBM Curator, it can be the Azure, it can be anything. Don't worry about that. So that might be a multiple SIM tools are there where we have been working. From these SIM tools, we are to the SIM tool, we are getting collected the data. Now, what type of data? Events. We are collecting the events and logs, right? Those are same. From where? From different type of IT assets. So these IT assets are going to send this logs. So these IT assets can also be considered as log sources. These are nothing but the log sources. So these log sources can be a more or it can be a less. It depends upon the organization's asset. So what are the IT assets the organization have? Based on these log sources may get increased or may get decreased. So all these data, which is comes in the form of EPS, they are calculated in the form of EPS. Now, what is EPS? Anybody have you heard of anything about the EPS? Are you guys are there? Are you following me? Is
No,
it clear?
no, we haven't heard.
So EPS is nothing but we call as event per second. We call as event per second we've been working. So how many events we're going to receive from these assets? So event per second based on that, the data can be there. So EPS are in a different way where we can see that, right? So event per second, how many we are getting, what are the assets are there, what are the process are there. There are many things are there which they need to have to see that here. Okay. So that is the most important part when we are talking about it. So the event per seconds are nothing but which are going to give us the information about the asset list. We're going to see what are the metrics that used to measure the data, right? What are data is getting entered into the SIM tools. That can be from multiple log sources. It can be from firewalls. It can be from IDS, IPS. It can be anything. So EPS is nothing but number of security events that are getting logged per second, right? For example, let's say that example firewall is generating 500 logs per second, right? So if the firewall logs are, let me just make it more clear. If we'll see that the firewall have create logs as 500 per second, okay? Let's say that if the firewall has generated the logs per second as 500, then what would be the EPS here for firewall, guys? The EPS can be considered as 500, right?
Uh,
Correct or not? Are you getting my point? 500 per second
yes,
is
yes, 500%.
Event are generating is 500%. So the EPS are there same way where we have it. So why EPS matters when we are working as as a security analyst or collecting the data in the SIM, because it all depends upon the SIM performance. Like high PS can overload our SIM, that could maybe causing different type of delay in alerting that can be happening. The storage cost is also most important part. While they do the deployment, the EPS is a very important concept, right? How many logs are going to be get stored, what is the impact can be there for the budget, when there's a huge data is coming in. So detections capability is also required for the sim tools. EPS if too high, it's in critical alerts maybe get missed due to the lot of noise I've been getting it. So there are the different sources like firewall, endpoint, windows, cloud systems, and many things like that. So whenever we talk about is the data is coming to the sim tool, that log sampling should be reduced. That's very important. We have to reduce the volume by seeing that what is the non-critical logs are there. So there are the different type of sampling, different type of optimizations need to be required here. It means like we need to adjust the correlations rules to prioritize what are the threats are there, what are process are there. So there are many things are there. EPS, FPS, TDPS. So we call it something called as a network flow. That is also very important. Application database transactions can be happens. That is what we call as a TPS, how it works on it. So whenever we are seeing that, if any type of rules or budget, whatever it may be there for a SIM tool or the performance, that all depends upon the events and logs. So there are the multiple log sources are there through which we are collecting the data, and these data are going to give us the information insight about how the sim works. Is it clear, everybody? Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to explain you that? Yes.
Yes.
So this is very important concept. Rather than going ahead and doing the practical and analyzing it, detecting the threat, doing analysis process, that is fine. Anybody can teach you that. Even the organizations will give you that information. But when I talk about the deployment process, when we are talking about insight about this process, like how it happens, how these events are coming, what are the methods are there of collecting these data, which is most important part. Got it? So I want you to be more focused on it, before we get into drive into the practical part. Yes, of course, we can do the practical, we can get learn things. But what this topic, when we are discussing this, before we get into the practical, we are talking something about, some of an important concept like EPS, FPS, TDPS, or if we can be talking about the SIM deployment, SIM performance, what are the log sources are there? What are the correlations rules can be there? How those asset lists can be there, how we can understand this, what does it mean by the budget, what do you mean by the cost, why the SIMness, what type of SIM performance may get increased, what are the possibilities are there where we can reduce the false positive, right? How those are the activities have been taking place before we get on board any SOC operations. What are the client interactions will be there? If we are building an in-house environment, so how we going to understand about all the assets? So those concepts are which give you a wider range of information that will understand the systematic way how any deployment process is going to be take place. Got it? So I want you to be having focus on seeking thinking more about than the analyst. Analysts might may do some basic level of analysis. They might may have received an alert. They might may do the investigation. They might may take some recommendations. What actions need to be taken for these alerts? That's fine. Initially, we're going to do that for a job. But what would be the next after that job? Obviously, going to go into the client facing role. You'll be planning to be get into the like you know project manager, team leader, or you can be going ahead with the manager. So those are the areas where these type of things which we need to understand. Okay. So how we can measure the shock matrix, like what are things that happens. All those are the inside information which we are going to discuss about. Okay. So I believe till here is fine to everybody, right? Have you understood about the events and logs are the most important part, and that will be getting from the multiple sources, and this will be measured based on the EPS, right? Correct, everyone?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
there is one question for you. Let's take an example. There is a high volume of EPS out there, right? Based on the asset list, we are getting high volume of EPS. We are getting the logs with non-critical, many, there are the several sources are generating like many logs and that have been getting to the same. So what would be going to affect if we are getting huge logs in the same pool? It will be the good, right? We are getting a lot of information inside. Is it? Is it that so?
I think so. Is no, is
Mm-hmm.
not good.
Mm-hmm.
If we're getting more log, the system will be more slower. We get a lot of noise.
Exact. Exactly. The performance may go down and there might be a chances, right? We not be able to
Yeah.
detect the critical alerts because the noise ratio is more there. The non-technical resources or non-critical resources when we see that and we see that unnecessary logs which are generating. We don't want those type of logs which have to which nothing to have to do with the security, correct? We need a correct log that might may get indicated as in security issues. We need the logs that which are the more critical resources. Otherwise, we need to focus what type of data is getting into the system. Correct? Yes. Raza, is
Yes.
it clear? Arif, Raza, Ajmal,
Yes, sir.
is it clear? Everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm. Perfect. So log data and its relevance to the security when I talk about it, as we can see that the same solution ensure the healthy posture of an organization's network by monitoring the different type of data that are coming from the network. So as we can see that log data record every activity that happens to the devices. It can be to the applications. It can be to any type of asset that is there on the network. So that access the security posture of a network will see type of activity what is happening. The same solutions must collect and analyze the different type of log data. Now, to elaborate this different type of log data that can be like that can be collected and analyzed using a SIM solution to ensure the network security. So there is a different type of data which we require. So here just I'm giving you some of the examples. So never depends upon this is at the only an asset. It might get into, but 90% of asset list can be covered in this way. We have the perimeter device logs. We have like Windows logs events. We can see that endpoint logs. We have something called as applications log, proxy logs, IoT logs. So this is are the sum of the asset list we can consider now. So we can see that these are the several log sources are there from which we are collecting the data, right? Now, if I'll talk about what does it mean by the perimeter device log. So perimeter device logs are nothing but that are the network devices that can regulate all the traffic to or from the network, what is getting passes. So it can be considered as the firewalls, VPNs, intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention systems. This might consider as the perimeter devices here. Now, perimeter devices record every activities that happens to the network, right? So these devices generate the log containing a large amount of data. As we can see that device will get a huge traffic. So perimeter device logs are vital for understanding the security events and occurring in the network. It is a very critical resource sources where we are collecting the data. So here we talk about the log data comes in a different format. Have you ever heard about the syslog? What
Yes,
is what do
brother.
you mean? Yeah.
The
System
system log.
logs.
Hmm. Yes.
Like operating system logs.
Yeah. Yes. System log. Sys log is nothing but whenever we see the sys log, it's called as a system logging protocols. All right. That is that the we can see that it is a widely used standard process for collecting and storing and managing the different type of log messages that can be from the network devices, servers, applications. So it helps us to monitor, troubleshoot. We'll do the different type of security analysis. We'll understand how the data get flow. So there are the different type of logs formats may there. But syslog is the most common process where we can see that. So what are the devices may use for the syslog? Routers, servers, firewalls, right? So they generate the logs in the format of syslogs here. So that we are going to collect this log. Okay. So once we receive these logs, we'll take an actions. We'll do the centralized monitoring system. We detect attack. We detect what are diagnose we required. Whatever the data which we needed. So these logs are coming into the syslog format, which help an IT admin to perform the security audit, troubleshooting operation issues, better understanding about the traffic that passing through or from the corporate network, like how it's getting processed. Now, if I'll talk about why do we need to monitor these logs, what exactly the reason when I'm monitoring primitive device logs? The first thing is that to detect the malicious traffic on a network. So this log contains the detail about the incoming traffic, IP address of the website browsed by the user, unsuccessful login attempt has happens. What type of it give us help us to see that what is the traffic behavior are there. Any anomalous traffic behavior are there, we can be able to detect that, we can be able to take an action from it. The second part, which is very important again, to detect the security misconfiguration. Security misconfigurations is the most important cause for the firewall breach, as we can see that. If we make it the small changes to the firewall configuration, it can open the door to the malicious network traffic. These are the possibilities out there. So monitoring the firewall logs can help to detect unauthorized security configuration changes. If any security configuration changes happens, that we get an alert. So we can detect the misconfigurations. We can detect an attack. So analyzing the firewall logs can also help us to detect the pattern in the network activity. For example, when the server receives within a short time a large number of synchronized packets that connect to the client to the server. As we have seen, like example, in the previous sessions, we have seen about the three-way handshake, right? The client will send the request to the servers in order to initiate a connection. So that will be, if it is a TCP-based connection, that will be sending as a synchronized packet to the server, right? Correct, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So if we connect, the huge traffic, if we see that there are the huge, users are there, which we can be able to see, the logs are generating. So those things can be considered as a major issue, where we have to see what type of these data, like how it's work, what are uh, the traffic is getting processed, why the server is receiving in a short term, huge synchronized packet. So it may indicate as a DDoS attack. We call it a distributed denial of service attack that may initiate by an attacker to make legitimate user to get away from the application. That might be a chance. It can be for a network or anything that will be considered. Now, what next? If I'll talk about the Windows event logs, which is very important again. Windows event logs are record every activity that happens to the Windows machine. That these logs will classify it as applications log, security log, systems log, Active Directory logs, and so on. So if we'll see that in example, I'm going to the event viewer on my computer. There's the default applications where I have it. Now, if I click on this, I can be able to see this here, right? The applications log, security log, setup log, system log, correct? Everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these logs are giving us the complete information about what happening to our endpoint devices here. So these logs are very important to maintain the Windows security. So these logs are coming. Not only these, but there are the different assets also there. If I can see here over these Windows services, I can see that hardware related softwares that can be related to the a kernel related software, or it can be related to the firewalls, the host based firewall we have, we have the Microsoft Defenders and so on, right? So there are the several logs where we can be able to see. If I can see that this is all come from the Defender logs here. So it's going to give us the information about what type of activities, what type of health issues, what type of the performance is there, what is running process are there. All those related to the information here. So that Microsoft Defender is the antivirus configuration has been changed. So unexpected event that you should review and set it with the following result of malware here. So that means it's related to the malware, it's related to the any different type of the events are there which we can be able to collect it from these type of assets here. So these assets are very important when we are talking about the security posture, right? So we can see the applications log. So what exactly the applications logs are there, why it is used here. So these logs are help us to understand what is happening within the applications. So under the operating system, whatever the applications happens, right, are there, we can be able to see why they have getting issues. That can be a error forcing the application to close and record it. Whatever the activities happens is recorded in the form of applications log where we can be able to see. Security logs, these are the event that may affect the security of our Windows systems here. That might be considered that if a user is trying to attempt with a wrong passwords, right? Wrong username and password. So that will be a login failure events are generated. Or somebody is have done successfully login, lot of login failure, it is happens. So there are 10 login failure happen, then one login success happen. So we can see that why this happens, what is that user is about it, who have taken in the access. So we can detect this type of alert, right? File deletions instance happens. Somebody have cleared the security log. Somebody have changes some privilege. Whatever, whatever the activity they perform on the Windows machine, we're going to collect that information in the form of events and log, and that is categorized in the form of application security systems, setups, and so on. Got my point, everybody? Is that clear?
Yes.
So we have the systems logs. So it contains events that logged by an operating system. So these logs indicate the process and drivers were loaded or successfully. Anything that update happens to the software that can be able to see. Active Directory service log. So these contain the events logged by an Active Directory services. It's record the operations such as authentications, modifications of privilege, user privileges which will get modified. So these logs are available only for the domain controller when we have it. So these are the some of the areas we can see. So DNS servers log. So these logs help us to find out what is happening into the client behavior at the server, right? So in a short, we can see that the information is that a client IP addresses that have done the domain query. So that record everything, what type of request the user is sending, what type of URL they're getting access. So it is available for the DNS server that we can be get control. Then if somebody asks us, why should we monitor the Windows event logs? So to ensure the server security, which is a very strong here, most important part, because the most critical servers such as the file servers, Active Directory controller that run on the Windows platform. So it's an essential to monitor these log data to understand what is happening within our critical resources here, that we have to take an action. The second important thing that Windows workstations. So Windows workstation security, if I talk about, these event logs provide a valuable insight information that we can see, like what is the user behavior of it, the functioning of workstation. So by monitoring this Windows event log generated from the devices, we can track the user activities. We can see that what type of behavior which can help us to detect any type of attack or malicious activities at the earlier stage. So in this case, if an attack happens, this log can help to reconstruct the user activities, or it can be used for different type of analysis, forensic purpose, and so on. Got it? This is a very important concept when I talk about the event and why should we monitor this log. Also, we can be able to monitor the hardware component. So analysis of these logs will give us the diagnose problem with the malfunctioning, what is the hardware component, how these workstations are working. So that can indicate any cause of malfunction if it is. And these have been categorized in the form of Windows has classified this event based on the severity level out there. It can be considered as a warning, information, critical, error, can be considered like audit success, audit failure. There are many areas are there. If I'll show you something here. Uh, are you able to see this? Like we can see that there are the summary of administrative events. We can see critical, error, warning. The similar way we can see the information. We can see audit success. The same way audit failure logs also will be there. That will show that when the user has get login failure here. Got it? Login success can be considered as an audit success. You got it, my point, everybody? Is that clear?
Yes.
Bro, can you just repeat the last one? Like, if successfully login, it means audit success.
Yeah, whenever the user have login, right? So example, if we can see that here, the audit success we are talking about it. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the security. Uh, there are several event IDs as well. I want to see that. Example, 4624. Uh, is there anybody with the computer right now?
Yes.
Okay. Ajmal, is that possible? Can you share your screen quickly once? Give me 1 minute. Okay. I'll just clear the security log everything. So I request Ajmal to share your log. Okay. Ajmal is sharing basically let's see that. Yeah. Ajmal, do one thing. Just go to the Windows and type event viewer. Or you type the event viewer. No, not there. On the search, right? Yeah, there. Yeah, open that. Maximize this. So left side you can see the Windows event logs, right? Click on that. Just expand it. Click on security. Just wait. It will take some time to load for that. Extreme right, you can see that filter current log. Under the all event IDs, down, under the or down to the yeah. Above, all event ID, yeah. Here type 4624. Press OK. Yeah. Here double click on any of this event. So here we can see, guys, what is the message? What it says that an account was successfully logged in. Can you see that here? Yes. So if you see that, what it says that what is the keyword here? Down. Log name as a security, event ID as a 4624. Keyword, can you see the audit success? Yes, Nazir.
Yes, bro. We can see. Yes,
So
bro. Keyword.
yeah, we can see that the audit success, it says that we have successfully logged in here, the keyword here. The same way, if it is in case the login failure it is happens, in that case we get the audit failure. Let me show you that as well. Close this. Ajmal process. Right. Let us see that you have any login failure or not. Click on the same filter current log events 4625. I want you to type the 4625. Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's not. Okay. Let me do one here. Ajmal, do you have the password when you get logged into your computer? Ajmal, can you hear me?
Yes.
Whenever you log in from Windows machine, it will ask you to enter the password.
No, actually, I use the finger. That's why.
All right, no problem. But anyhow, that's fine. You can stop saying. So here we can see that this is that the possibilities are there wherever we are seeing that the logs which have been getting, right? So audit success we have seen. The similar way, there will be audit failure logs also can be there. Okay. So it all depends upon the event types where we have seen that like it can critical, error, warning, it can be informative, it can be audit success and audit failure. So what is this logs from where it is coming it? It's not for only for that, but there are the different purpose where these logs can be there. So overall, with the help of these, we got to know that this is at the level of the process where we can see that. Now comes the next pillar. We call it the endpoints. Now, what do you mean by the endpoints? Endpoints are nothing but the devices that connected to the cross the network and can communicate with the other device over the server. Some of the examples that can be include like desktops, laptops, smartphones, or it can be any printers or anything other. Even in an IoT device also been considered as an endpoint. So endpoints are nothing but the device which connect to the corporate network here, right? So as we can see that organizations are increasingly adopting the remote world. So endpoint might may create a point of entry to the network that could be exploited by the malicious actors. So the malicious actor might make it enter through the endpoints. So that's the reason it's very important to monitor what type of activities is happening. To monitor the activities on the removable disk drive. So it means like the removable disk drive are often vulnerable for of malware installations or data exfiltration attempts. These endpoints logs can help us to detect if any type of malicious activities is happening, or it can be the suspicious activity we can connect it. See that a user is connecting a flash drive, it might may contain the malware. It might make it like you know spread to the other computers. That might be a possibility, sir. We can see that the user activities. So user are required to be abide by their organization's internal as well as external regularities policy related to the installations or uses of software on their workstation. So when I say that, what do you mean by that? The policies? Can anybody tell me that regularity policies? If I'll say that.
Policies are some certain of rules we're gonna set.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there are the certain type of rules where we have it, right? So when I'm saying that, whenever we have internal or the external policies, so all it depends upon the organizations, what type of internal policies are there. It meet with an internal stakeholders, employments, management, whatever they have made it and code to be conduct for this policy. Now, external policies are nothing but it can be considered as certain guidelines, certain rules that related to the governance or that can be related to the standard bodies where we have it. Example, PCI DSS. Example, we can see that that can be from GDPR, HIPAA, or it can be any type of privacy contents that might may have it. So there are the certain policies that need to be get maintained, right? So that how the softwares or any other application, if it's installing to the Windows machine or to the workstation, that need to be matches with these policies here. If it is against the policies, the user must should not get installed any type of any type of applications on those windows here. So that is the reason where we can see that the user are required to be abide by their organizations installing any type of software. Either it can be matches with the internal or else an external policy here. So that is a very important here. So endpoint logs can be used to monitor these policies, how it's working, provide the notifications if any violations occurs here. Got it? This is our very important logs where we can see that. Now, if I talk about the application, as we can see that there are the several businesses runs on the application. If I take an example of Uber, Ola, Zomato, Swiggy, Facebook, it can be like Google, and so on. So there are the different applications are there where the business runs. Based on the applications, only the business may uh, offer the services to the customers. So business, when it is running with an application, so application can also be considered as a very important and very critical business asset. Yes or no?
Right.
If somebody have hacked or somebody have make down the Amazon applications, let's take example. They might be getting a more financial loss, even the reputation loss, right or not?
Yes,
Yes,
bro.
yes.
So based on that, the applications might be anything. As we can see that the business runs on various applications that can be considered such as a database, web server applications, or it can be in-house applications that perform a specific function. So these applications are often vital for the understanding and seeing the effective function of the business. So all these applications generate the logs that provide insight about what is happening within the application. Let's take an example. We can be able to see the troubleshooting here. Troubleshooting issues means this log can also help us to identify correct issues that related to the performance and the security of the application. We can monitor the user activity. So logs generating from the database is indicating requests, what type of requests, what type of queries that are given by the user here. So what type of queries are receiving from the users, those all informations can be get recorded. And this can be used to detect unauthorized file access, data manipulations attempt by the users. Or logs can also help for troubleshooting any problem in the database if they have. So applications logs is also one of the key important point while we monitor the different type of log sources. The same way we have with some other logs email gateways log. So email gateway logs record generated by the email gateway or the security appliance that monitor, filter, manage the email traffic entering or leaving the organization's network. So these logs are essential for email security that provide the valuable information for detecting and responding to the potential threat here. Now, before I go ahead, can you tell me that what is email gateway? Have you ever heard about that?
Mm,
Yes.
I haven't.
Okay, no problem. See, as we have seen, right? We have antivirus, right? We know very well why we have the antivirus in order to secure our computers from the different type of malware which are going to be get inside, right? So the antivirus is going to scan that. It's going to detect if any suspicious or malicious file or payload is there, if they matches with the signatures, right? So the email gateway is also a service that manage and filter all the email traffic that entering or leaving the network here. So it means it acts as a security checkpoint, deliver control for all the emails here. So spam filtering, malware protections, phishing detections, the policy enforcement, email encrypted or not, or there are the DLP technologies. There are many things are there. So there are the different email security solutions are there. That example, Mimecast we have it, Microsoft Defender for Office 365 we have it, Proofpoint we have it, Cisco email security we have it. So those are the vendors are there which is need to be get see that. So email gateway where we have inbound gateway, we have outbound gateway, the filter the email coming into the organization. They scan and monitor the email sent it to the out of the organization. What type of data is getting passes? All those type of filters will be there. Well, got it? My point is, it will be there in front of your email server. So whatever the email we receive, before it need to be get passes through the email security. Email, like where we can see about email gateways, whatever we have it here. Correct?
Yes.
Now, so we see that what exactly the information it can be. So it detect logs that capture the information about the email sent it and received by the email gateway. What type of emails are there? So details such as the sender, recipient, subject, timestamp, size of the email, like what is sent it, those information. It can also be there for the spam detections. The email gateway often include the spam filtering capabilities to identify and filter out unwanted or the malicious emails when we have it. Also, it contains the malware attachments. The logs reveal the information about the email containing the malicious attachment, deletions of malware attachment, or information about the type of malware and the action taken by the email gateway. What type of action is taken? It's quarantine, like deletions, whatever. Like the action which is taken by the email gateway. Those are the informations we're going to get it with the help of the email gateway logs.
So
Then
email gateway is some kind of like a device, hardware device, or it's just a protocol. Some
it's kind of a software appliance. Okay.
okay.
Example, if we can say that. One example, one of the email gateway. This is a Mimecast, all right? So this is also one of the email security. So can you see that AI powered with the next generation's email security here to stop an advanced email type of attack. So if we'll see that about the project, if we can see how those email security can be worked, what are email related security when we have it. Like the same thing, there are different processes here. So it can say that block the dangerous email born with an attack. So there are the different type of pattern they can have advanced email security blocks that the most dangerous attacks whenever it is happening. What are the sophisticated attacks will be there? What are the different type of the method they will be getting used here in order to detect here. So there are the different type of integrations, different type of updates when it is comes to the email security. So these email gateways should be getting installed in front of email server. You got my point, everybody? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So those are the things where we can be say that like whenever we are talking about it, the email servers or that will be protected based on the this email gateways. The email will be get passes through this type of technology which is integrated on that. Correct? Is that so clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it also detects the malware that block information about the email containing the malicious attachment. The detections of malware attachment, information about the type of malware, what are the actions taken by the email gateway, all those things can be get in the form of event server. The antivirus, if I talk about it, as we can see that the antivirus logs provide the crucial information about the activities that happens to the events that related to the antivirus software deployment of the system whenever we talk about it. So what type of activities happening about that systems, what is the action is taken by the antivirus. So all those we are getting in the form of logs. The logs are essential for monitoring the effectiveness systems like antivirus solutions, identify the potential threat, responding to the security incident. So it means like, guys, okay, let me tell you one more big some idea here. Let's understand that. See, I have IT assets, right? So IT assets, when I say that, I have Windows machine, Windows server, right? So when I say that I have the Windows server here, so this can be considered as one log source, correct? Right or not?
Yes.
So this is also been considered as an IT asset and log source. Correct, everyone?
Yes.
Yes. So one IT asset may have the one log source, right? Or it may have multiple log sources. What do you mean by this? What do you understand with this? Windows Server can be considered as an IT asset. So these IT assets are nothing but where we are monitoring all the activities, right? So we are collecting the logs from Windows Server. So that can be considered as a log sources, right? So I some of the IT assets like this are there where they don't have a single log sources, they may have the multiple log sources. Got my point? It means like Windows are having the multiple log source, right? It means that only, right? Everyone, correct?
Yes, yes.
Now, if I say that we have the local events which we are collecting from the Windows, just now we have seen like application related, security related, or it can be related to the system. So that can be considered as a one logs which we have it here, right? So those are the logs can be considered here, where we can see. The similar way, if we have it the other part, we have installed the antivirus in the Windows machine, correct? Yes or no?
Mm.
So when we have the antivirus on the computer, so if we are collecting these logs here from this computer here, so in this case, what we can say that this is also one of the sources, right? So antivirus is also one of the log source here where we can see, because whatever the activities happens on antivirus is also generate the log, update, scans, disable, enable, everything, whatever it is happening. So that will be considered as a one of the log sources here. And also, if it is contain some database, SQL or something like that database. So this is also considered as one log source, because we need to see what is happening into our databases, right? So here we can see that Windows can be considered as an IT asset, but it may have a single log source, or it may have the multiple log sources. Correct? You got my point, everybody? Yes.
Yes.
So when I say that the antivirus log, so which can give us the information about this only, right? Scan event, threat detections, quarantine actions, clean or remove the files, or update happens. All those type of informations we can be able to see, right? Is it clear, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, proxy logs. So, what do you mean by the proxy, by the way? What is a proxy? Proxy server. Have you heard about that?
Alternative server?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, it can be like that. But let me show you something. Let us make it the more clear here. See, guys, let's imagine a situation. This is our computer, right? Let's imagine that this is our computer here. Now, what happening here? We have the proxy server. Let's take an example. So this can be considered as proxy server, right? Now, what happens usually if I talk about this? So we have the server here. Let's say that any of the server. Let's consider that as the Google server. Okay. Let's imagine a situation this is been considered as a google.com, the Google server which we consider. So whenever the user want to initiate this request, right? So if they want to get an access to google.com or any request that is happening, so the request first goes to the proxy server. The proxy server need to get validate that request if it is a permissible, the rules, whatever the rules have made it, based on that, if it is inaccessible, then the request will be sent it here. So this connection will be break, the proxy will initiate a connection to the Google server. So they get a reply. So that reply will send back to the proxy server and proxy server to the user here. That's how the proxy server will work. So it is an intermediate between the computers and internet. So whatever the request is passes, it should be get passes by the proxy server. So it provides some privacy as well as we can be able to see the type of activity which is happens on the endpoint. So if we can see that here, the proxy logs plays an important role in the organization's network by providing the privacy, regulating access to the access and saving the bandwidth. Why? Because since all the web requests and response are passed through the proxy server. So proxy logs can reveal the valuable information about the user statistics as well as the browsing behavior of the endpoints, how these endpointers are performing, what are the activities are there. So why should we monitor these logs to baseline the user behavior? Analyzing the user browsing activities from these proxy logs that can help us to detect any type of malicious activities can be get taken by the user. So we can see that the division from the baseline that might reveal the data breaches, indicating the further inspections if it is required. So we can go into the more detail and understand what is the user behavior. So the length of packet that get exchanged between the server and the endpoint share. So to monitor the length of packet means the proxy can also help us to monitor the length of packet that extends through the proxy service share. For example, user has receiving repeatedly, sending and receiving the same size of packet within a short time. So there are two things may happen. So it can be a software update, or it can be considered as there is something uncover malware may get exchange signals with the control server. That might be a possibility there. So this is the reason where the proxy server can also be considered as one of the important log sources. Then we have IoT devices. Now, what do you mean by the IoT devices, guys?
Internet of Things, any devices connected to internet are
Yeah. So it is the communications which happens with the systems, right? It was like whenever we talk about the IoT devices are very important in today's time because everyone is doing the deployment for smart features, right? Smart gadgets or the smart type of sensors, which can be there. So it's form of an IoT. Let's take example here. IoT devices are nothing but which have been integrated in the systems, like mostly in automobiles, if you may have seen. So that painting purpose or there are a different type of process where the IoT devices can be get added here. It can be for the video cameras, it can be for access controls and so on. So as we can see that Internet of Things refer to be a network, to a network of physical device that exchange the data to the other device on the internet. So like how the data is getting transferred. So these devices embedded with the sensor, processor, and software to enable the data collections process, transmitting endpoints devices, and make up to the make up an IoT systems generate the logs. So whatever the communications happens while they're doing their transactions, they are sending in information, they're getting access to the different devices. So there are the different type of logs up in generated. So these log data from the IoT devices provide insight into the functioning of the hardware components, like how the performance are there, what are the processes happen, such as a microcontroller framework or any update is required on the devices. So the flow of data in and out of these devices, which is very important here. So IoT logs refer to be a record generated by the IoT devices platform. These logs give a crucial information about the troubleshooting, monitoring, seeing that what is the security flaws can be happens to the IoT system. So ensuring the security to the IoT devices. So generally, we can see that these log include the information about the operation issue, health of an IoT devices, log related to the transmissions of the data between the IoT devices and the backend system. We can record changes if any configuration setting is changes to these IoT devices. So this log may help us to see the security related events, the events which may the attackers is trying to steal from this IoT vulnerability. We can see that unauthorized access attempt, potential security threat, or any type of breach if it is happen, we're there to take care of those laws. Correct, everyone? Is that clear?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
so Log sources are might be a different log sources are there, but it all depends upon the type of assets where we can onboard it. So what I want you to understand that the incident management. So we know that what is a security incident? We know very well. Security incident are nothing but the risk which can be get intercepted. So security incident an event that indicating a threat to the organization's network. So present on a certain degree of severity and potential risk to the organization. So incident is nothing but is a threat to the organization, and every incident have a certain type of severity level. It depends upon like what damage is going to be done. So if this incident is not detected, let's take example. If undetected incident happens, so we can see that it can compromise a system data. It can be happens from both outside end or it can be from the inside, right? So we can consider that this is called as an external or internal threat. So when I talk about the external threat, what does it mean by that? External threat is originated from outside the network that have been initiated by an hacker. So attackers are employed in a various technique tactics to breach the network, including the data manipulations, phishing attack, malware attack, DOS attack, man in the middle attack, and so on. And also we can see that no two business will suffer the same consequences of the security threat if I talk about it. So whenever the attackers are attacking, purpose is different, depends upon the organizations, why they are targeting on. So there is no two business will affect same because let's see that if I talk about healthcare industry, a security incident can be lead to the exposure to the patient's confidential data. If this attack is happens to the banking side, so that can be exposure to critical data such as the credit card informations, banking informations, that will be make that organization financial loss, right? So it means like when we see that it depends upon the type of attack which happens and what type of the business they run. In on that basis, where we can see the several type of attack patterns. There is also we have something called as internal threat. So internal threat means what? Internal threat takes place when an insider cause of distributions of the organization, the network misuses their privilege. So these threat can result to manipulate of all the sensitive data, identify the thief, data leak, policy abuse, or anything. So in a very simple way, internal threat is nothing but inside the organization that might be a somebody trying to damage the system where we can be able to see. That can be happens accidentally or intentionally. It depends upon the investigations here. So if I'll say that the incident management, how we're going to manage those incidents. The process of detecting, categorizing, analyzing, and resolving an incident is very important. So it's a various techniques, tools, and incident management attempts should be required here. Mean time to detect an attack, mean time to resolve. So when we are going to detect and when we are going to resolve, that is very important here. So the time between the occurrence of an incident and resolutions can be a difference between the organization security being compromised or not. So when it's detected and what is the timeline to get compromised, to like mitigate that, which we have to see that whatever the systems have been going to compromise based on that, where the security incident need to be get handled. So the same also comes with the comprehensive incident management module to track the key solutions issue, ensure our organization's network is safe and secure. So means like when it is occurs, when we are getting resolving and what is going to be get affected is very important. So then only we can provide the security. We can be taken care of those incidents, right? Clear everybody?
What is
Yeah.
this MTTD? So mean time to detect. Oh, I see.
Yeah, MTT is something,
I
but
got
what is the time, where we detect it? MTTR is something, but the main time to resolve that, an incident.
understand.
So this is our the events and logs, which is quite important, while we're working on because we're going to receive the multiple logs from multiple sources and going to see that what is happening. Correct?
Yes.
Correct.
All right. So thank you very much, guys. See you in the next session.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be going at one more session, I believe, like two more sessions, and then we're going to start the practical. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you, bro.